You could be looking and looking, but you're not really sure what to look for.
How do you navigate those situations?
Our client's happy. That's all that matters.
What's the worst spot in Philadelphia to take a first date?
For a first date though? Like,
What is going on, everyone? I'm here today with a familiar face, Mr. Martino Picariello. What's going on?
what's up, Alex? How are you?
Good, man.
Thanks for having me back on.
Yeah, I'm excited to be back here with you. It's been a little bit, man. What's changed in your life?
What's changed? That's a good question. Few things have changed. Started doing development for myself. My brother and I partnered up, Pica Realty Group, PRG, to start developing in the city. We acquired our first piece of land and we're building on it now. It's probably the biggest thing top of mind that I could think of that's changed. Property management as well. We started an LLC for property management, so we're helping people develop and then lease out their new builds. Or, if we meet anyone that just needs management, we'll help them out as well. But the goal for us is to keep everything in the same hands. So development, management, and then down the line, when you want to sell it, we're a one-stop shop. We have connects with a really good Rolodex of people in the city after the amount of years and the amount of people that we have brought into our world. And it's just been a lot of fun these past few months. And now we're already coming into August, dude. It feels like this year flew by, to be honest, man.
It is flying. I can't believe we're already really more than halfway through July and through halfway through this year. So
Yeah.
it's amazing, man. It really is.
Thanks for asking. What's new with you, man?
A lot. So I left previous firm and then joined and became partner at a new firm. So Loans Incorporated. So still the same great service, everything provided that I give. And yeah, man, just excited to be on a new platform, tech driven, customer service first. So love it, man. Love it so far.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's exciting when you have a new start like that. Are you pretty close to the whole transition being over now and you're ready to dive back into the business?
Yeah. So we're like, as of right now, we're fully, functioning as a business. Our doors are open. We've already had closed settlements and transactions. From a marketing point of view, we're still finishing. Like, we have a live website, but we're still finishing out the final factors. A few different things we're working on a marketing front. We do have an office space. We just got that leased, and we're still waiting to do like a hard launch. But keep tuned as well, because we're gonna be having an event to launch the company. So
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I think you did mention something about that recently. So
Yeah.
keep me posted on that, please.
I will.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So, going back to what you said, getting into development. First, how do you actually get involved in development, especially as a realtor? How do you get involved in development?
Yeah, it's a great question. And just to start off, to answer that question, a great mentor of mine, Nick Gigante, always says, you have to be around to be around. You have to really be in and around these job sites, these development sites, close by, if not right in them, to really connect with the people that's on the site, particularly the owners, understand what they're building, understand what challenges they may be facing, understand why they're doing it. And I think building a relationship with the developer directly through networking events, you can meet a ton of developers. You can also meet them by just walking on the job site, like I said. But either way, just being around to be around, especially in the development space, when it's only a limited number of players really move and transact, it takes a little bit of time. You have to go through a couple people that say they're developers, but they just built one house. And you just learn to ask the right questions to these developers, and then they start to really pick up on the fact that you know what you're talking about, as well as have a great team behind you that knows how to transact in that space and also add value to that space. So that's really the best way to get into it, is site walks and networking events that are focused around builders, architects, attorneys, and things like that.
What's a challenge you maybe didn't think that you'd run into while getting the development space that you ran into, and how can you get prepared for that in the future?
That's a good question. I would say the zoning was really important for me to learn, and I didn't fully grasp the zoning at first. I knew what single family was, multifamily was, and the commercial mixed use, of course, industrial. But when you can look at CMX2 versus CMX3 versus CMX4 versus CMX 2.5, and you can already know what kind of buy right build you're going to have there, it just saves you so much time, and you can really talk more high level with these developers looking at things on the fly, because developers are typically very busy. If anyone's ever spoken with a developer, it's very quick, it's to the point. They're very they're very concise in what they do. So you also want to be very concise in what you do. So learning those zonings helped me really grow into my mastery as I wanted to approach selling development deals, and understanding what you can do.
Right, right. So would you say that if you were to start fresh over again, what would be kind of the guideline or baseline knowledge you would recommend to someone who's just starting fresh and into? Would you recommend going zoning first and learning like all the terms and everything?
You know what? I think that's a great first step, but I do think just getting a mentor would really be a good first step. Someone who's maybe building themselves, or it's an agent maybe in your office who is working with developers, and just starting with them, being like, hey, what are you up to? Is there any way that I can add value to you right now? And I think what they're going to tell you, those mentors, is get into rooms where you're meeting these people and understand what they're building, why they're building it. Most people, just like anyone, they want to get a good return. Typically it's 20 to 25%. If you're buying it, and then refinancing it after the renovation or the build, you still want to have that 25% spread, so you're not leaving any money in the deal. If it's a regular flip as well, I think you want to have 20 to 25% at least up front before moving forward on a deal. So typically it's that metric, really, that return. Or sometimes they're building because they have other investments in the area and they want to build this there to draw more attention to it or protect their investments in a certain location. That second one, I think, is something you're seeing more and more with certain baby boomers who own a lot of real estate. They've been doing it for a long time, and now they want the second generation to come in. They're teaching the second generation if they're willing to learn. And they're able to that's another reason why people are building right now, because not everything's in a pencil. So yeah, you have to have a strong motivation, a strong why.
Now, like, let's just say at a smaller scale, if you're a person who's looking to get in development or develop let's just say flip a property for the first time. What are some key things you look at a property before pulling the trigger, buying the property, whether it's a shell, needs a full demo? Like, what are some key things you look at before you decide this is the property I'm gonna buy? I'm gonna rehab, flip this property. So what are some things you look at the very beginning?
Yeah, I really like to work backwards from the end. So the result after we flip this, what is it going to be worth? And then really take it all back from there. So just a rough example. If you're buying a property for 100, you're going to put 100 into it and you're going to sell it for 300. You're 200 all in plus your soft costs. You're going to sell for 300. If you can get that done, and this is another huge metric, is the time it's going to take to do that flip. That flip is going to take you, some flips really do take 2-3 weeks. Some flips really do take 2-3 months. And I don't know many that's taken 2-3 years, but I'm sure there's some out there.
Yeah.
So really the ARV, what's our timeline to build that? And then cost per square foot. What do you think this job is really going to cost us per square? And that'll allow you to really make a good estimate on what you should offer on that property by working back into it.
Gotcha. And if someone is interested or looking at properties, but they don't know where to start, can they reach out to you? Would you be able to help them with that?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think that's the first step, honestly, because you could be looking and looking, but you're not really sure what to look for. I know that was my biggest learning curve when I first got into development, looking for rehabs. I think I'd find something and be like, oh, look, it's in this price point, when really that's why it's priced there, is because it's really not worth that much, And in my mind, I'm like, this is a gold mine, this deal. So I think it's really about knowing what to look for. So I think, to answer your question, yeah, definitely reach out to a trusted colleague or agent and just get their opinion on what you should be looking for first before going on a mad search. Yeah.
Now, if you were to buy a property, let's just say that is occupied by a tenant who's not paying, or a squatter, how do you navigate those situations?
It's a great question. I'm going through something like that right now. So my favorite approach is to offer the tenant there some kind of solution. I always try to go the path where we're all happy. I don't want to ever piss anybody off, and I don't want anyone to feel pissed off. So I'm always approaching the tenant. I'm like, hey, if I can get you a place here, if I can get you connected with PHA where they can get you a voucher so they can cover your rent, let's do that. So always looking for the easy way for both parties. But if they're not receptive to moving whatsoever, and this landlord really needs to move, I mean, eviction really is sometimes your only option. And that's, ask any landlord in Philadelphia, it's the last resort. So that's why I wanted to start a property management company, because we know how to really work with those tenants, and we're tenant focused, which allows our landlords to reap great rewards, less turnover, less damage done to their properties, less just less time dealing with the tenant. As long as you do all the work up front, and towards the end of that lease, you're doing all the work to get them out of there.
Now, I've seen this a lot, especially in Philadelphia. How would you navigate a situation where a client, or you're looking at a duplex or a legally zoned multifamily home? So a home that's not properly zoned for the amount of units that the property currently has. What are some risks, and are the risks actually risks? Like, is it really that risky?
You
It's kind of a wordy thing to say.
It
But
is. I totally know the question, because in Philadelphia, it's 125 years old, most of these buildings.
Yeah.
99% of them are all in that 100 to 125 year range. And it's hard to just change them, like to tear down walls, So to answer your question, if there's two separate meters, two separate electrical boxes, two separate everything, and it's a duplex, that's fine. Zoning doesn't have to really match up, because you can get some kind of variance down the line and prove that it's a 2-unit. Now, if the property is running off of 1 meter and you have 3 units, just stop doing what you're doing and either sell the building, or just revert it back to a single family and rent it out that way, because the last thing you want to do is get caught running that kind of operation. I would stay far away from those opportunities. Wholesalers typically love to sell those because it's easy work and they're cheap, but they're cheap for a reason. Just keep that in mind. You get what you pay for in this business, always.
Do you think that should be something, if it's not properly zoned, it should be direct on the MLS? Because I think a lot of times these properties aren't accurately descripted. Like, we have a beautiful triplex here and it's not legal.
Yeah, that's a great question. So just some site a site, I should say, start from the top there.
Yeah.
A site that I've used
that
has really been beneficial to checking zoning is phila.atlas.gov, or it's those 3 words. I'm not sure if it's specifically in that order, but phila.atlas.gov basically will verify any zoning. And then if it's not zoned accordingly, there's also an L&I inspection, license and inspections, where you can see if they've gotten a permit for a duplex maybe, and it's just not zoned that, but they have the right to do it. And then typically check the rental licenses, see how many are active. If it's a 2-unit, you should have 2 rental licenses. If it's 3, 4, 4, etc. So checking those through that site, I think, is a huge benefit to investors. And every time I bring it up to someone, it feels like they're like, oh, I never knew this existed. So give it a check. It's we'll put it in the link, put the link somewhere in the caption of the video.
Yeah, I actually heard a story about someone who bought a new construction property.
Okay.
And they were trying to figure out who did the HVAC, because the HVAC was installed incorrectly, and it pretty much had issues after like 6 months after buying the home.
Oh, wow.
So the builder was nowhere to be found. So they actually went through Atlas and was able to find who the HVAC, exactly who the
pulled
HVAC,
the permit, right?
They pulled the permit and they were able to find out who it was, and try to get that corrected. I don't know how the story ended, but I'm pretty sure they reached out to them, and I think they might have fixed it somehow. So
I think that's great. It just shows you how much of an amazing tool it is, where you can find out, pull permits, find out who did work, hoping that they pulled permits and did it the right way. New development, you're not going to get away with not pulling permits.
Yeah.
You're tearing down a building, building a new one up, or you're building something, someone's going to call in. You want to make sure all your ducks in a row, so in case someone calls in, you're not like, right. L&I's going to shut you down right away, and they're going to fine you greatly. Rehabs, people get away with it. And that's a reason, if I'm ever out with a buyer and I see a rehab property, I'm checking Atlas. I'm making sure that this has permits pulled. If it's not, I know the work's shoddy, and we're on to the next one. So
that's great.
It's a great value.
Yeah. Have you ever ran into an issue with a single family with a second kitchen with financing?
I like that situation. Yes. Wait, what was the last part?
Like, have you run into an issue with that before?
With the financing piece?
Like, for example, I just had a closing, and the property had a second kitchen in the basement, single family home in Northeast Philly, and the appraiser made a subject to the removal of that second kitchen. And the reason being was, and the lender required this because that kitchen did not have the proper zoning through the city and through the county. So they had to remove this because, I guess in their mind, if, let's just say, a gas line was installed incorrectly or something like that,
right,
and there was no permit to look this up, that this was completely legal,
right.
I guess if the house blew up, it could be a risk to pretty much the lender losing their money on the loan.
Right. House goes up in flames. Insurance is like, well, was this done the right way? No, it wasn't. Oh, well, that's your fault.
Yeah.
That's where having attorneys, I think, is very important. And, as good referral partners and good contacts to reach out to at all times. Because in real estate, you're getting put in these weird situations all the time. That's a really good example of one. Personally, I've never been hit with any kind of financing issues on those. I know buyers love them though, because in their head, oh, I can separate these into two things, it's 2 units, and try to get someone to live in the basement, if the kitchen's down there, or vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
Real quick, just want to touch on renovation loans.
Oh yeah. We just got done a fun one.
Yeah, that was a fun loan, man.
It was.
I'm actually really excited for the buyer because I think the property, once it's completed, is going to be absolutely gorgeous. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. And this is just to give the viewers an idea of the build. It was a 2-story, not even full 2 stories. It was like 1 story and then a little bump out, where there would be like a studio. And then we're basically going to square off the back of that studio space up top, make it a full 2nd floor, and then build another 3rd level above it and include a rooftop deck on the top. Our client's happy. That's all that matters. But for me personally, I'm just so excited to see this when it's finished and we can have dinner over there.
Yeah.
And cook out on the roof deck.
Yep.
That's the reason I do this stuff, is to have those experiences and see them come full circle. I love seeing something go from start to finish and being able to drive by it and being like, I had something to do with that, whether you had just a small piece or you did the whole deal.
100%.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah. And like, I feel like one of the things that I wasn't expecting from that, and I feel like you were as well, and going through the whole process, was purchase price and then the renovation, but also keeping at the jumbo loan limit. Because that's one thing that you have to keep mindful of. Each county has a separate loan limit and you can't get past. So like, for example, I think the national is like 766,000 right now. It could go up next year. But if you're buying a property for 500 and it needs 300 in renovations,
you're past it.
You're past it.
Do you think it'll go up? It has to.
Will, yeah. It's
Because
always
inflation, prices have doubled in the last 5 years, in the suburbs at least.
Do you think the prices have doubled since last year though?
No, not since last year. Probably since 2019.
Well, nationally though.
It's a good question. I would say from 2016, let's just go 10 years. In 10 years, 2014, I would say prices have doubled in most suburban locations where there's good schools, etc. If you're kind of in Bumble, nowhere, middle of nowhere, excuse me, or you're like in a bad neighborhood in the city of Philadelphia, or any city for that fact, prices have still gone up since 2014, but you're not seeing that double like you would if you were in the suburbs.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to get on some more entertainment side topics.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah, man. What's the worst spot in Philadelphia to take a first date?
Worst spot. Wow. Probably Ladder.
Ladder.
Ladder 15. It's on Sampson Street. And I keep in mind, I really only go to that block when I'm going downtown drinking. Yeah. But like, I could never imagine having a conversation with someone there and like getting to know them there. It's just, it's like a frat party there. Probably wouldn't go on a date, even though it's a great spot, but just not a date spot.
Really?
Yeah. That, or I would say Garage gives me a similar vibe in Fishtown.
No,
like, I just wouldn't.
Garage is perfect,
for a first date though.
I think it's great.
It's your first time meeting this woman. You want to be in a crowded environment, or do you want to be kind of like this, a little more intimate? What's your preference?
See, when I first started dating my girlfriend, we were going to Garage a lot because the Phillies were in the playoffs this last year.
Red October. Past 2 years has been electric.
Yeah.
We just got to bring it home this year.
Yeah. So I feel like that was a great time to go, especially some of those like weekdays too. It was still crowded because like it was the Phillies, Red October. But yeah, I mean, I think I've gone on some first dates in Garage. I think, I never end up dating that person. So besides my girlfriend, maybe it's not a great spot.
It depends on what you're going for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, intimate, it's not what I'm going for. Murph's right down the street. That's intimate. You're sitting down, maybe putting a piece of spaghetti in your mouth, putting one in her mouth, and you're just doing the old lady and the Tramp and making some memories that way. But maybe not on the first date, but down the line.
I think Murph's is great, especially for, here's the thing too. I'm not a huge fan of dinner on the first date.
Ooh.
It's because like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of times.
You're just going right to dessert? Or...
Well, I think ice cream is good.
Yes.
But it's like dinner, you're chewing a lot and it's hard to maintain a conversation. I feel like there's a lot of like pauses in conversation.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
That's a tricky thing to get around, is just like the eating part of the dinner, It's almost like you got to take turns. Like, all right, I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna take a bite. You answer the question while I chew, and then we'll flip this. You know what I mean? Hopefully, you're getting a 50-50. Sometimes you're just eating and asking questions the whole time, and that person's not even touching their food because they're just talking too much. So
Yeah.
dating in general is a little bit funny when you think about it, but definitely first dates, very important, very, very important.
Yep. In
Yeah.
the center city area, like in the surrounding areas like Northern Liberties, Fairmount, all those areas, South Philly, what would you say is the best neighborhood to be single and the
Mm.
worst neighborhood to
Oh,
be single?
I would say Fairmount's probably like the worst neighborhood to be single because you see all these happy couples walking around and you're like, just biting your tongue. Best neighborhood to be single in, I think would be downtown. Yeah, Rittenhouse or Washington Square, somewhere in that area. Just because you have so many places to go out and meet people, that's where I met my lover, my girlfriend. We talked about that one time, so that's where I would definitely recommend anyone who's single to live for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
What do you think?
what do I think? Well, I think worse is probably that's a that's a tough one,
The
man.
worst or the best?
The worst, and well, I'll give you both.
Mhm.
I think the worst might be. This is tough, man, because the neighborhoods a little better than I do.
Mm.
Um,
I'm out there and wheeling around, but
I
you know
think
them
the
pretty well.
I think the worst neighborhood to be single in Philadelphia might be Center City.
To be single in?
To be single in,
Really?
and I would say just
I
like
love this. Yeah. What do you think?
my mindset behind it is, if you're single and you're in Center City, I feel like it might be harder to romanticize the whole first dating experience. I think it's not as quaint as if you were to live in somewhere like East Passyunk or
Ooh.
Fishtown. So either that or Northern Liberties. I feel like both. I think Northern Liberties might be a little better than Center City.
Mm.
But yeah, I would say best. I'm either calling Fishtown.
Mm.
I think that's a great one. If you want to be closer to Center City, I would say Queen Village or Society
So
Hill maybe.
so friendly in Queen Village and Fairmount, like so family oriented. It feels so good to be there, but I think if I'm single and I'm just out and about,
Yeah.
I want to be downtown.
What are
I
your
think.
goals as being single? Your goals as single to meet as many girls or guys
So
or
that's the
whatever's
question,
possible?
actually. That's a good point. Is your goal to be single?
Yes.
Right. If my goal to be single is to be single, it's Center City for sure.
I can agree to that.
Yes. To find love, if that's the question, yeah, I think I'd agree with you there. East Passyunk, very good spots, very low key bars that you can kind of just like have conversations
Yes.
in, more intimate.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you are looking for just single life, you want to let loose, yeah, you have 100 bars and restaurants within a square mile in the downtown area here, which is great.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if let's just say you're moving to Philadelphia from other places or cities,
Mhm.
what would you say is the best
Ooh.
neighborhood to start? Like how do you get the Philadelphia experience? Which neighborhood would you choose?
I love that question. I am biased. However, I do think Society Hill, Old City, will really give you a good taste of what the city's all about. It's very educational, so you're going to learn a lot about the city, but then you're also going to enjoy the city with all the amazing things they have to do there too. So I think if you're just moving and you have the finances to kind of pick and choose, I think your first year, check out Old City, check out Society Hill. It's east of Broad Street, between east of Broad and Delaware, the Delaware River. And right now they're actually building up a lot of new construction on the Delaware.
Mhm.
So I think it'd be it's probably the perfect first spot for anyone to come from that's not from the city, come from outside the city. Yeah.
And I think if you're coming from New York, you're not prepared for this,
Mhm.
but you're driving, it's going to take you a little bit used to drive in these neighborhoods because
Yeah.
it's tight, it's
Yeah.
aggressive.
So much tighter. You look at these these New York streets, they're 4 lanes wide, maybe 6 on
They're
Broad.
aggressive, man. They're aggressive.
They're aggressive. But Philly, look at Market Street. We're like 2 lanes, 3 lanes now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Washington Avenue went from 4 lanes to 2 lanes now with a bike lane. Like, we're not a driving city, and I think we're taking that identity on, and we're just not forcing, but we're really leaning towards the public transportation and making it more incentivized for people to take public transportation than drive.
And going off of that, I saw Philadelphia was ranked the most walkable city in the United States. What do you think of that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I did not. When did you see that come out?
I've been seeing all over Instagram that Philadelphia has been voted the most walkable city in the United States of America.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Do you agree with that?
I wonder if there's like an asterisk because I wouldn't walk in some parts of the city. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's like between these blocks, it's great, you know. But that's actually pretty cool to hear because I really venture out to Boston, New York, or any other like major city. So it's good to know that the one I'm in is great and walkable.
Like go
Yeah.
Birds and everything, but
Yeah.
I feel like Boston might be a little more walkable. I don't know.
I don't know. That's the thing is I really I have nothing to base that off of.
Yeah.
It's just a very nice surprise to very good news to hear.
Yeah.
That we're one of those cities. But I'm telling you, after certain times in certain neighborhoods, it's not walkable in my opinion.
Right.
But downtown, for example, you can walk all day.
Yeah.
You know, you can walk all day and we'll have a great day probably.
And I think between South Philly and Center City,
Mhm.
walking is all connected. And I
Mhm.
think they're really trying to bridge that
Yeah.
where they're going. Now they're like building in that in between area of like Chinatown and what is that, like Spring Garden, that area. They're
Yeah.
trying to make that, build that up and make it more walkable so you can
Yeah.
connect Center City,
Mhm.
then connect Northern Liberties, then connect it to Fishtown and then Kensington and just build up that whole area.
Yeah. And it's kind of in coinciding with this whole Sixer stadium that I've been hearing about, which I think would be another just piece to the puzzle there.
Mhm.
But I've heard a lot of controversy on it. And
Yeah.
do you have any take on that? If the Sixers were to move their stadium to Market Street, East Market, what would happen to the city and what would happen to Chinatown? Any thoughts on that?
I think there's gonna be pros and cons. Obviously, I don't know how it would affect the community there. I do think maybe some of the benefits would be some upgrades to the public transportation system. I
Mhm.
think there needs to be some updates
Mhm.
there, and to make it more safe and more available, and maybe to some areas outside of the city for people to get into the stadium. I do think people outside of the city looking to go to the games are complaining because of the parking situation. So I think they're trying to make it like a hub for public transportation, like what you saw in Brooklyn at the what is it,
Barclays, yeah.
yeah. So we'll see, man. I don't have a strong opinion either way. I do think it could help bridge that gap as well between Center City, Chinatown, and then building outside of that
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, because that is like such a whole. It's like a very I don't want to say desolate because there's a lot of big multi units, but it's like it just feels like there's not much in that. It's called Ludlow technically
Okay.
on the map, where it's like just west of Northern Liberties before you hit Broad
Yeah.
and before you hit Fairmount. It's like between Fairmount and Northern Liberties. What is that? You know,
So
just a lot of people don't have an idea of like.
what were they calling it? I used to work over there on 10th and Spring Garden, and they're calling it like something like Art District or
Okay.
Cowell Hill or something.
Callow Hill.
Yeah, Cowell Hill.
Callow Hill, and then as you go north, it goes into Ludlow, and then
on the
you're
other
in
side of Spring Garden.
Correct.
Ludlow, right.
and then you're in Temple Grounds, basically.
Right, exactly.
So it's like that's such an interesting pocket that does need to be bridged because it just feels like either you're in Northern Liberties or you're there in Fairmount.
Yeah.
What's this in between land here where Ridge Avenue cuts through? And I think it is Callow Hill technically into Ludlow, but it's like it doesn't have an identity. It doesn't have like a neighborhood feel to that area. It's just like a lot of kind of traffic, not foot traffic, but just like cars going by in that area.
Right.
So they do need to make that more of a foot traffic hub instead to drive more people there.
Maybe we'll see revitalize some of those areas and build that up, man.
Yeah.
We'll see you out there.
Hey, there's opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll try my best.
Or
Yeah.
if you want to become a developer and help build up areas in Philly,
Yeah.
reach out to Martino. He can make that happen for you.
Absolutely. Would be happy to. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I know you have places to be, and
I have a
business to
call. I was gonna say I could do the call right here on the pod. It's a new development. So I sourced this land deal out in
Yeah.
Westchester. We have 3 new constructions coming in. Actually, we're gonna get the first project done in February,
do. Uh-huh.
is what I was told from the developer. And I have a call. This buyer called me off my listing
Mm-hmm.
online. I just have to give her the information about the project. Should I do that on the pod or should I do that?
Do you want that? That'd be some awesome content.
Let me do it on the pod and
All right.
see if it's a good call. Her name is Sam Rena.
Is that cool?
Cool. Her name is Sam Rena. I'll put her on speaker. And this is kind of my process when I am reaching out to warm leads, cold leads. There you go. I'm going to try one more time. Sometimes you get a do not disturb mode.
Right.
But after this one, we can probably just resume it until.
And then we have the
1:45?
space until 1:30, so I don't want to keep jamming.
Oh, okay. Hi, is this Sam Rena?
Yep, this is her.
Hi, how are you doing today? This is Martino Picariello with Rarity Real Estate.
Hi, I'm good. I have with me my husband John, and you're on speaker, by the way.
Hey John, how are you?
I'm good, Mark. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's Martino. Sorry, I speak pretty quick.
Sorry about that.
No problem. No problem. So, how did you find out about the development site? Where did you see us?
I think I saw that post on Zillow.
Okay.
Yeah. So we just wanted to learn a bit more about what is the offering, features, upgrades, what's included, what's not. And I think you have two lots that are posted right now, right?
Correct. Yeah, there's a lot one and there's a lot two. So both of those are going to have different builds on them. You'll have a Dickerson model on lot two, which is the smallest lot out of the three. And then lots one and three, we're working on the plans for what we're going to call the Vincent model, which is a little bit more expansive. And that's where you're going to see the price difference from 135 to 149.
Oh, the starting is at 135 to 149. Okay.
Correct. And then just to answer your question about the finishes is, that's available right now for our buyers to select. If we come to an agreement on price, of course, if they are upgraded, but we have a finish packet for you to pick from basically the previous projects that we've done. This is a contractor who's done a few of the same builds. So the Dickerson is something that he's put in other locations as well. So you can just kind of plug and play with the finishes that you want, but it's the same floor plans.
So just to confirm, are all three lots on the market, or?
Yeah, they're all three are available. Yes, we were just advertising these two models.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Is there a scheduled delivery date for the site?
Yes. So our first build, depending on what our first buyer ends up going with, we're going to start with. That'll be done. We're planning February completion date. The rest of the development will be finished in this upcoming summer, 2025.
So I'm looking at the listing. Two is the smaller one. It looks like three is, one
One and three.
one. No, I'm seeing two that are bigger, so that's why I was a little confused. I think one and two are showing up. Can you confirm that? Which two are the smaller one and which one is the big? Or if you have that in a site information, that's fine too.
Yeah. So I can tell you right now. Yeah. So lot two is the smaller lot. I know that. That one's going to go for less, of course. And then the bigger lot is going to be lot, I believe it's lot one we listed, not lot three. But I'll send you over.
Showing three, but anyways.
Okay. I'll send you an email just kind of clarifying the size of the lots, how big the homes are going to be. And then I can also send you a link of the model home, something that we've already built in the past, like I said.
Yeah, and with new construction, it can be pretty hard to figure out, all right, what level of finishes are included.
Yeah.
I think anything you have on that, a brochure or details that kind of outlines it, like are you going to have hardwood or not, or what kind of countertops are you providing? That type of information would be pretty helpful in figuring out what's included.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you over what our base model is going to look like. And then if you want to let me know of any kind of interested upgrade you want to do, maybe to the flooring, maybe to the cabinets. For the most part, the flooring and cabinets are very standard, solid hardwood floors, Century cabinets. But if you wanted to upgrade those even further, we're happy to, work that out with you.
Okay. I just have a question as far as like the starting 135. You don't have any buyers right now. So as far as like us being, like we were the first one to get in on the project to start building for you guys, is there any flexibility on that base price to possibly go down or get additional finishes with it?
I can speak with the developer about that. As of right now, just to kind of give you an idea of where we're at in our process, is we just got the approvals from the township this past month. We're going to be actively starting to break ground and clear out the space. In probably a month from now, that's all going to be complete, maybe 2 months tops. So September is when we should really be putting the framing up, getting everything complete. So at this point in our process where we just had the approvals done and we're about to clear out the space and improve the land, we've had 5 people reach out, agents that had buyers, but you are the first direct buyers that we have contact with as of right now. But there is still a good amount of time for us to generate interest, and that's really what it's going to depend on. Is if we have a line out the door with people that are ready to take that price, then it's going to be hard for us to move it. But just to answer your question, I can play it by ear to see if we can lower the price if we don't have that many buyers interested in a line out the door, like I said.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't want you to move mountains, Martino, but like, 135. That's kind of the top of our budget,
Okay.
certainly, and depending on what's included with the base, you think hardwood throughout. That's great. There might be additional stuff added on there, like I don't know, if it's a center basement or if there's decking, if that's additional. So just wanted to see kind of what you guys were thinking for that. So any flexibility, we certainly appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I did have one more question, just as far as
Thanks for waiting. This is where I want to set the appointment.
Yeah.
As far as building the homes, is this, once you break ground, you're on a timetable to complete all 3, or are you waiting for buyers before you start the project? So, for example, like let's say we take lot 3, are you going to wait to work on lot 1 or 2 before you have a buyer in hand?
Yeah, to answer your question, that's a really good question. We're going to build regardless, but if someone is under contract with us and, we're ready to start building for that person who puts an earnest money deposit down and, kind of puts a little bit of skin in the game, shows us that they're serious, we're going to take that as priority while we start to get buyers for the other 2 properties.
Okay. And what would be the earnest deposit, just so I know, as far as would it be like a standard, just like transfer sale, like 15, 20,000 to get started, or is there like a minimum that you guys need?
Nah, no minimum, but I really think the numbers you just said are pretty appropriate, I think, for a project this size. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Question for you guys. Would you like to see, I'll send over the information either way so you can see the model home. It's going to be a link to their website. But let me know if you guys would like to see one of their model homes in person. And have you driven by the location of where this is going to be being built at?
No, we should be out there.
On Saturday.
Yeah, it seems more like Saturday at this point. But
I think we'll drive by just to see where it's at. I mean, we're familiar with the area, so we know in general where it is and the surroundings. But
Okay.
I don't know that specific road, so we'll probably drive by to take a look. The timeline aligns pretty good with us. I mean, we're looking. I mean, you said February next year, so that works well for us.
Yeah, February 2025.
Right.
Are you guys moving with a family? Is it just you 2?
Well,
We have 3 under 5.
yeah.
Oh, joy.
And, possibly a parent as well. So
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be a full house.
Yeah.
Well, those are fun ages. I'm sure you have your hands full.
Yeah, one of the main questions I had was about that, site map to try and understand what is the yard situation. I think that's pretty important to us. When we drive by, obviously, we'll try to get a sense, but it'll be hard to figure out what is 1 versus 2 versus 3. So I think
Is it shown, like, do you have like a map as far as, and when I say map, like a drawing of just like, here's the lot line?
Certainly. I'm going to send over everything in that email, and I'll highlight.
gotcha.
Yep, it should be. I'll just put it in the email, but it's going to be the middle parcels, lot 2, obviously. 1 is closest to the corner. The third one is the third one in. So I'll send that over with everything.
Okay.
And that's really it.
And to answer your question, I think once you send over the paper documentation, if we think, we can I mean, obviously, please get back to us on any flexibility there might be on the pricing side. I do think we would be interested in taking a look at.
You said there was a model home?
Or, yeah.
Yeah, I believe it's about a month away from completion. It's in Audubon, not too far from here. And just while it's top of mind here, I know you had a question about the yard. The way that we're gonna use there's like a good slope. It's a perfect slope for the house that we really want to build here with the Dickerson, where we're gonna be able to have a walkout basement, so you can take a step right out of your basement, even level into the backyard. It'll be a sliding door that'll open up to your yard. Does that make sense?
So wait, it would be on a slope?
So the house is kind of like, imagine the house being built. I mean, I don't want to scare you guys. I mean, there's like a good gradient to it, like a nice little hill, but we're using that hill to basically have a walkout basement versus having to dig up a basement, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. Okay, so the concrete, like you're not digging a concrete foundation, it's just being built on top.
Well, we're going to have our concrete foundation, of course, but the way we're going to pour it is that way you have like a beautiful open, as soon as you walk out of your sliding doors, you're right into your backyard. And, you know, maybe you put something back there, pool, barbecue, whatever. You can even add a deck, I'm sure. But just keep that in mind as you're driving by the site on Saturday. And then we can touch base on Monday after you've kind of seen everything. Or feel free to give me a call Saturday. I'll be working. After you've seen all the plans, seen the lot, if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer them at that time.
Okay. Last question for you. I don't know if somebody has one, but other projects, I know you said there's one in Audubon that you're finishing, but, for our search, we've been looking in Paoli. I would say, over to King of Prussia, out west to Malvern. Like, so do you have any other starts that would be coming up that might be similar to this or like kind of in that area?
Certainly. Yeah, I can. I'll put some feelers out there to other developers that I work with and see if they have anything coming soon. And you said February was your ideal time frame to be moving in?
Spring, yeah.
Yeah, spring. I mean, we would be at least a year from now. We just need a different location of where we are.
Understand.
So yeah, spring delivery. Early summer.
Let me send you a list of the school district. I think that will probably help narrow
Yeah,
down
definitely.
the areas versus the actual areas. So I'll
Definitely.
send that over to you.
I
Or I can respond to your email when.
Either one, but that'll be super helpful. I know the Tri-Defin is very popular, so that's where we've gotten a lot of interest just because of the school
Oh,
district.
that's awesome. Yeah. All right. I think we'll look forward to your email and take it from there. It's just, we do have an agent we work with, but with new construction, I didn't want to bother if this wasn't going to work for us. So.
Understood. I appreciate the disclosure there. Have her reach out if I can educate her on any of this stuff if you feel like she's not familiar with it. Yeah, happy to always meet new agents and network with them.
Sure. All right.
Thank you, Martino. Nice talking to you.
Sure thing. You too, guys. Nice meeting you. Bye. Fuck.
So wait, can you
Yeah.
if they're not under a contract, can they switch to you? I guess either way they probably can, right?
If their contract states that they have an out, then they should be able to. But some contracts are a little bit more strict. Depends on the agent that they're working with.
Because the mortgage world is savage.
Oh yeah, it's
If
savage.
they're like, yeah, you already have a lender, that's fine. We'll just beat them.
Yeah.
Do you think with the NAR stuff that's going on, do you think that it's going to turn into that? Like, oh, they're at a 2.5% commission. We're going to be at 2.25% commission.
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Because that's kind of how it is in the mortgage world now.
For me, I'm not focused on that because I always focus on building a good relationship first. And if you have that good relationship, I don't think a half a point, and I think you can attest to this.
Yeah.
It shouldn't matter. But let's just say like I just met somebody and we're closing something and they're shopping, like that's a good, I probably wouldn't take that business if I knew they were shopping. I'd be like, all right, take them. You know what I mean? Because you're nickeling and diming. Those are typically the people that I don't want to work with. But that's a good point. I'm curious what the chat would think about that.
Yeah.
Like, because of this NAR settlement, do you think realtors are going to get shopped in the similar way that lenders do, where it's like the day of closing, maybe, or maybe not the day of, a week before? You can switch lenders, just like that, and have the rug pulled right from underneath you.
And are buyer contracts going away with that settlement, or is that still going to be a thing?
Buyer contracts meaning signed
Like-
buyer agencies.
Yeah, right, correct.
If you have a buyer, a signed buyer agency, the buyer, they should absolutely be paying you commission, even if you get shopped.
Right.
So it's like really crossing your T's and dotting your I's up front will
Yeah.
really help you in the end of the sale to make sure that you're just not worried about that stuff. You know,
Gosh. No one likes to work for free.
nobody.
Cool, man. Well,
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Of course, dude.
Yeah.
Thank
It
you.
was great.
Always is.
Thanks.